What it is, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Third Intermission Podcast. This is your boy Dave. Of course, on the ones and twos here. Follow us on the socials at Toronto Third. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast from. And make sure, if you're seeing this on YouTube, to like, follow, and subscribe. And hit that bell because we be hitting you with new videos every week. In fact, we be hitting you with new videos almost every day, as your boy's now on the socials, just out here, just putting plaster in his face all over, with that hockey content, with that hockey content. Of course, I haven't talked about the NHL or the Stanley Cup playoffs in the last little bit because I'm still hurt that Montreal is in the goddamn Eastern Conference Finals and Mitch Marner is in the Western Conference Finals, and it just makes me want to die. So, anyways, it's just, of course, you got the right hand of the king, Avry Lewis McDougal out here in these streets, so you got number one and number two of the Toronto Third, or of Toronto Third out in these streets here. Avery, what's going on? I see you have the Michael Jackson Thriller jacket on today, and I feel like you're about to be a little more unhinged than I am. So what's going on here? As we can get his microphone working.
There we go.
You alive?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
What's gonna happen, Dave, if the Cup final comes down to Mitch Marner versus the Habs? What's Toronto gonna do?
So there's a lot of space in the Scarborough Bluffs for people to jump off at this point. Edgewalk might have, a lot of Toronto Maple Leaf fans just booking trips just to go all the way up there and just basically look death right down in the face from like 560 meters in the air, just ready to jump off at any moment in time. Boat rentals might be at an all-time high. You go all the way out to like the Ontario-New York border of Lake Ontario and then just jump right off and then, just it'd be America's problem at that point. But, okay, I'm exaggerating and I'm going a little too far. But I feel like Leaf fans might be on, like, just say, might be needing to be taken care of in that situation. I know I'm probably one of them in that regard because, like, I know there are a number of Leaf fans who are just traitors at this point, cheering for Montreal, saying like, "Oh, it's Canada's team." It's like, do you have no shame, right? That's like being a Blue Jays fan and cheering for the goddamn Yankees, cheering for the goddamn Yankees after they beat you in the American League Championship Series as they go for number 28 in the World Series. That's like cheering on the Boston Celtics after they beat you in the Eastern Conference semis. Oh wait, case in point, 2020 Eastern Conference semis. Like we lose in the bubble and everyone's cheering on Boston. And it's just like, do you not have no shame? Like, do you have no pride? Do you have no loyalty? It's like, does somebody from Boston have your balls in a sling? Like, what's wrong with you? I'm sorry. There are certain allegiances you should not goddamn have. For example, if you're a TFC fan, you do not mess with Montreal. If you're a TFC fan, you do not mess with Vancouver, right? Flat out. Flat right out. It's the same thing in the NHL. It's the same thing in the NBA. Like, there is no unity for teams anywhere. If you are a Toronto fan, regardless, okay? I understand some of us may have closet secondary teams because we never see our teams in the playoffs. You cannot jump on another team's bandwagon when your team is gone, okay? Deadass.
Folks do it, though.
Listen, this is like, you treat this like English football, okay? If you are a fan of Arsenal, you are not a fan of Tottenham. If you are a fan of Man United, you are not a fan of Manchester City. If you are a fan of Sunderland, I swear to God, there's something wrong with you. But
oh, yo! If any Sunderland fans watching, we're sorry. The beef is with Dave.
No, we're not. No, we're not. Okay? Listen, again, allegiances stay allegiances. You do not have other teams' jerseys unless it's greatness in itself. Okay? Exceptions are Ronaldo, Messi, Gretzky, Tom Brady. Who else? Whoever the damn quarterback is for damn Kansas City.
Pat Mahomes.
LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, hell, Giannis Antetokounmpo. If you put his last name on a Raptors jersey, it's fine. But deadass, do not under any circumstances, get any other team's jersey if you are a fan of a specific team and their rival happens to be one of the best players on a different team. Do not get that jersey. There are only certain exceptions you can do that for. Maybe Luka Doncic, I guess, but like even then, tutus, like don't mess around with stuff like that. Because if you have no loyalty, then like yo, what's to say you're not going to cheat on your relationship at one point or another, or cheat on your barber? Like I'm being stupid.
Your barber and your barber will remember when you come back to your barber and your head zog up, they're gonna remember that.
Of course they're gonna remember that. Like yo, sports fandom is just like that, man. Like yo, as I see Jason in the episode here, aka the Godfather himself. Jason, what's going on?
So I just passed through stuff. I'm a good youth, bro. I'm a good youth, man. I'm a good youth, bro. Real thing. Just chilling.
Jason,
Yeah, what's up, brother?
Jason, in terms of life sins, how high is it to cheat on your barber in terms of life sins?
Bro, that's a violation you can't really violate, bro. Like, yo, bro, like, yo, you can't cheat on your barber like that, dog. Like, you can't,
No,
you
you can't.
can't do that, bro. But you see, it, Avery, it depends on the circumstance, though, because you see
Nah,
me
nah,
now.
nah, nah, nah.
No,
There's
no,
no
no, no,
circumstances
no,
you can't
no,
cheat on
no,
your barber,
no.
my guy.
Yo, bro, my circumstance is different. My circumstance is that my barber was down here, and then
Mm-hmm.
my barber like moved to like a different state, like not even in the country, he moved to a different state.
Yo,
You know
you
what I'm
buy
saying?
places.
I'm not. Yo, bro, my pockets are not set up for me to take an airplane to go see my barber, dog. I'm telling you the honest truth, bro. So at the end of the day, in that situation, yeah, you gotta find a new barber still. Like, but like that's my circumstance still.
All
Like, you know
right,
what I'm
fair,
saying?
fair. But then
But like
again,
if
like
you
yo,
have
you go
but
back to the same shop.
I was with my barber, bro, from like about 2012, around there, up until like he left the country, dog. You understand? So like
That's
when
crazy.
you have a barber, you gotta stay loyal to your one barber, bro. You see, my problem was I had mans that were cutting my hair. Man want to eat food, make call. Yo, hold on there, brother. Me have to send some money down to Jamaica. Just give me a minute, rude boy. Like, yo, bro, I came to cut my hair, bro. I didn't come for you to tell me that you're sending money down to Jamaica, dog. Just cut my hair so I could leave, dog. Like, I understand you're good, bro, but I don't have
As they're
that
trying to
kind of
give you a
time.
fade and then send a money transfer through Western Union, guy.
Every time, Avery, I'm going to come my hold on the road, boy. I just want to eat our food all day. Me not eat. So what do you mean? When I come, it's time for you to eat, bro. But like other people, yo, bro,
See
yo,
that
bro.
that is why Jason. When I need to get my hair cut, I go to the barber. I go almost every time. I go early. I go when the doors open, so I'm not there waiting 2-3 hours for them to go. Because that's the one thing y'all know. West Indian barbers, you are not going in on 10 minutes. It's talk. It's them taking a call. It's them doing something else,
All
and
kind of
oh,
foolishness. Yeah, man.
Yo,
It's an all day affair. It's an all day affair. That's why I do it
All day
myself
affair.
because even when they are paying attention to you, they're not listening to you. That's why you end up with bad haircuts, and that's why I stopped going.
sure.
Yeah, you see.
yo,
Yeah, man.
I do
Every
it
yo,
time
myself.
you're in the
yo.
every time. Go ahead.
No, 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 no. I was just saying because it's like it's messed up because like yeah, I'm not gonna out certain family members because like my stepdad, my stepdad used to link me with cuts, right? So I'm never gonna slander his name because if he ever hears this, he'll beat my ass. But in any way, shape, or form, it's like sometimes you have to wait like almost 2-3 hours. Like, yo, say you're coming from work or you're coming from school, you need a nice lineup, man's are getting a little trim the next day, and like, you want to look fresh one time, right? As Jason drops out the call. But tutus, like if you are waiting like 4 or 5 hours and yet still you want to go grab a bite to eat, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh, well, where were you like half an hour ago? It's like, I was trying to get some food because you had five mans up in the chair, and I'm apparently the last one here waiting to get my hair cut. And next thing you know, you're mad at me because I'm 30 minutes late. You made me wait 5 hours. Like, that ass, of course, I'm gonna go. That ass, I'm gonna be pissed. But at the same point in time, you do not cheat on your barber. If you move, you find a black barber that you stick with, and you stick with that barber for life, right? Or until they do something stupid. In which case, then you can leave. But, anyways, this is going off the rails here, just a touch. We got the Hood Father in the building himself, Troy Piper Bowen. Troy, what's going on with you? And also, I gotta ask you this question straight up: what's worse, cheating on your wife or cheating on your barber?
What's worse?
Yes.
What's worse, cheating on my wife or cheating on my barber? That's a
Yes.
stupid question. Obviously, cheating on my wife is worse because you can clearly find another barber. Because a barber won't take half your shit. They might take half your hairline, but they're not taking half your shit.
Okay, so on that topic, is cheating on your team okay with another team? Say even if you're a Leafs fan and you find another team that you're cheering for in the playoffs.
Like when it jiggle for you?
Is it okay to cheat if you're a Leafs fan? It depends on who you're going for.
I'm sorry,
And
I find it questionable because it's like, here's the thing: I used to cheer for Calgary for a while, right? As a closet Flames fan, right? No, those words kind of sound questionable right now. But in any event, like when the Flames had actually had decent playoff runs, and the Leafs weren't doing dick all. Like, let me go see what's going on in Calgary because of course Jerome McGinley, and then it's like, oh yeah, I like the Flames here and there, but again, I can't say that out in public because I have too many Leaf jerseys in my closet. So like dead ass, I can't do that. I can't do that. So why would I go cheer for another team when I'm a fan of one team already?
I think every Leafs fan, or if not most hockey fans in general, they have a backup team in mind. They just never let it publicly be known unless they're ready to announce it. I mean, like I'm sure there's a lot of Leaf fans that are watching this playoffs that are they're going for somebody else, but you're never going to see that made public unless that team wins.
Listen, I've had conversations about this with enough people. They're like, "Oh, we're cheering for Montreal," and I'm like, "Do you not have any shame as a Leafs fan? Like, why are you cheering for a team that basically beaten like is the equivalent of kicking your dog off the CN Tower? Like, what's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
People have no shame, man. No shame these days. It's like, oh, it's the cup for Canada. It's like, listen, I would rather Carolina win the goddamn thing than have Montreal win another Stanley Cup and just rub it in my damn face. Go suck yourself. Anyways,
Listen, this Canadian curse needs to be over with because the next time,
listen, I would
because the
rather
sooner
us be
Canadian team
doing it.
wins,
If
the
we
better
have to wait
chances we
50
have.
years, then we'll wait 50 years. But one not. Yo, this has me heated, and I haven't even drank. Well, listen, I only had one beer. Okay. Anyways, folks, we have a great show lined up for you today. First things first, we're gonna do another discussion of how the how the conference finals are going. We're actually gonna also get you set up for the AHL conference finals as the Toronto Marlies happens to shockingly get themselves into the Eastern Conference Finals against Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Of course, Easton Cowboy Cowan coming up with the heroics back on Sunday. We're also going to just briefly touch upon the Memorial Cup. Of course, Kitchener, the OHL champion, taking on Everett, the WHL champion tonight, and what is going to be a highly touted heavyweight fight between two potential finalists tonight. We're also going to look at Montreal getting Canada's first P-Dub title as Walter Cup champions, and then, of course, we're going to take a look at Canada's situation at the World Hockey Championships as the defending champion, the United States of America, basically got booted out of the room, and I'm very happy about it. But you know what? We'll discuss that when we discuss that. But let's dive into things first. Carolina, Montreal, and Colorado, Vegas. Let's start with the obvious here. Of course, Montreal taking on Carolina early in Game 3 tonight in Montreal at the time of this recording. First things first, can Carolina actually pull this off? Because we know for a fact that Carolina has not won a single playoff, or sorry, let me rephrase that, a single conference finals appearance since 2006. This is now their fifth try, and they've only won 2 games out of the last 17. Or no, out of their last 19. Avery, I'm going to start with you first. Like, can Carolina actually pull this off as you're trying to wake up and not fall asleep? And we can't hear you again.
Focused, but you know what? It's funny. That is funny. The conference final curse where the Canes just struggle in the Eastern Final. But you know what? From what I've seen in this series, this is a team that's finding ways to push the pace. They've got a great core there. You're seeing guys like Jackson Blake, someone I've liked a lot, stepping up. You're seeing Shane Goss's-Bear have a great series. Carolina's finding the pieces that I do think can push Montreal to the brink in this series, Dave.
Troy, how are we feeling about this right now?
But yeah, I think Carolina can pull this off here. But yeah, Carolina can pull this off. They got to focus, play better defense, get in the eyes of Dobis. Don't fall for any play that Montreal may pull, and special teams, special teams, special teams.
Avery, if Montreal were to pull this off, what do you think needs to happen?
I think the big thing is right now, if Montreal pull this off, finding ways to step up defensively, finding ways to help out Jakub Dobish, who's had a great postseason run. And, it can't all be on the backs of guys like Caulfield, Suzuki. It's going to need to be a total team effort. And, defensively, Montreal does have great players. And we see just now, Lane Hudson just scored time of this taping to make it a 2-2 game. So, guys like Lane Hudson stepping up, that young core stepping up and finding ways, along with the rest of that roster, will be able to propel Montreal forward. And I think is what they have is that you can knock Montreal down. They're a very resilient team. You can put their backs against the wall. We saw against Tampa Bay, winning a series clinch with only 9 shots on net. This is a team that finds ways to stay resilient. They'll bend, but they won't break. If they can find ways to not break, they should be okay to get past Carolina from that point of view as well.
I fully agree. And honestly, again, like I said, for the sake of my fandom with the Toronto Maple Leafs hockey club, I refuse to cheer for Montreal as it stands. But, it is what it is at this state. And honestly, if the cup does come home to Montreal, then, I'll cry for a couple days and then, say some French curse words and what have you. But you know what? I'll deal with it as it is. You know, I was kind of hoping Toronto would actually get themselves together and be able to at least make a conference finals run in this day and age. But you know what? At this rate, I'm not holding my breath anymore. I'm still a little angry about it, but what can you do? This team's only been going through the blender for the last 20 years, and we've only had 2 second round appearances in how long? It does get frustrating after a while, especially if you're a fan and you start seeing other teams have better success and everything. I feel like the real measure of disaster is if seeing if a team I don't know, Columbus comes out of nowhere and they end up winning a Stanley Cup, or Buffalo wins a Stanley Cup, right? And say Toronto doesn't have their name on one after how many years? It kind of feels a little, just for lack of better wording, embarrassing. So at the same point in time, though, it's really nice to see Montreal get themselves together and have themselves a deep run, especially with how young that team is. I think the average age of that entire team is 25.8 years. And the last time that happened was in 1993, when Montreal had the team with the exact same age and ended up winning the Stanley Cup that year, which was absolutely insane. I mean, lightning could strike twice in this situation, but who knows? As for Carolina, Carolina's been through the trenches for how long? And, of course, with this potentially being Eric Stahl's maybe potentially second to last year, maybe last year in the league, I feel yes, it would be nice to have one more cup run in them, but I don't know if Carolina can actually even overcome the juggernaut of, say, the Western Conference, which we're about to talk about very shortly. We'll see how this goes. I ideally, if Montreal can take 2 at home and finish it off in Game 5 in Carolina, who knows how this is going to play out. Switching gears, though, we're going to go to Colorado and Vegas. And has there been any possibility of stopping the monster that is Vegas? Because even with a team that's backstopped by Carter Hart and with Mitch Marner, a former Leaf, literally playing lights out, Does Colorado have a chance, or are they pretty much just has the snow pretty much melted on the mountain that is the Colorado Avalanche at this point? And Avery, I'm going to toss this to you first.
It doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter what team you are. If both your top guys get banged up, it is hard to win a series. We saw with Nate McKinnon and Kale McCarr. Doesn't matter who it is. You lose your top guys, you're going to be in tough to win a series and battle back. And we know down 3-0, that's a huge hill to climb up. We know in hockey, team can do it more so in hockey than other sports, but either way, that is a big ask right now to ask a banged up team that is down 3 games to none to win 3 games in a row and then win a fourth. It's a tall task, and I don't know if this team has enough juice to do it, Dave.
So Troy, I'm going to throw this to you. I don't know if you've probably seen any games in the Western Conference Final, considering they're so late. But what's your honest opinion about Vegas right now, going into Game 4 on Tuesday?
Going into Game 4, I mean, they're probably surprised that Mark Stone is in the lineup, considering how he spends most of the year on the injured reserve. But they're probably counting their blessings that he's been relatively healthy so far this playoffs. In terms of how I feel about the series, until further notice, it's F Vegas. Well, like while their individual players do deserve some accolades because they have been able to keep guys like Landeskov, McKinnon, Devin Taylor, and Kadri, and those guys like in check, they've been held relatively ineffective. It feels like it's a one-sided series because you're not used to seeing Colorado basically getting beat down the way that they have been in these games. And then now with McKinnon hurt, it's a big blow to the Avalanche, and Vegas, they're probably just like schemingly like wringing their wrist, like, yes, we have another advantage to our benefit. I think Vegas has gotten more or less like the hockey gods on their side for this because of all the bad decisions they've made or management has made as the team. But I think overall, at this point, it's hard to say that Vegas isn't the team to beat, but there's still hockey left. So I mean, like, can Colorado pull off the impossible? It can happen. The stranger things have happened. So I mean, I wouldn't count out the Colorado Avalanche until they're actually eliminated.
Fair enough. Folks, if you see that I'm a little distracted right now, I'm watching my Kitchener Rangers basically tump out the Everett Silvertips right now. We're going to talk about the Memorial Cup shortly. Jack Pridham has just scored, making it 2-0 for the Ontario Hockey League champion Kitchener Rangers out in Kelowna right now. So your boy's a little excited at this point. But going back to the topic at hand here, Avery, if you are Colorado, what do you need to do in order to be able to say essentially force a fifth game, a sixth game, and maybe that ever so elusive seventh game, and make this Western Conference Final an epic clash?
Plain and simple, you gotta find a way to stop Vegas coming through the waves. Like, you cannot blow another 3-0 lead. Remember, Colorado was up 3-0 in Game 3 and blew it. You got to find a way to sustain that Vegas goal line's pressure if you want to have any chance to extend the series beyond the fourth game.
I agree. I don't want to see a sweep in the Western Conference Final. Maybe a gentleman's sweep, but we'll see how that goes. Of course, time of this recording, game 4 will go down on Tuesday. Hopefully, Colorado has the next man up mentality, and hopefully somebody can step up and take over as, say, a potential option in case, say, Nathan McKinnon is out for a little bit longer than, say, originally planned. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Shifting gears here, as I did previously mention in one of our videos on Instagram and on Twitter, of course, at Toronto Third. The Toronto Marlies managed to escape Cleveland with a massive Game 5 win on Sunday, as Easton Cowan scored with 11.3 seconds left to give the Toronto Marlies the 3-2 series win and the 3-2 win in Game 5. With that, they now take a trip to Pennsylvania to take on the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. And of course, friend of the show, Mark Johnstone, is on the roster for the Toronto Marlies right now. So we're going to tee up this series real quick here. I know there haven't been too many games where, say, the Marlies have been on, say, broadcast television like Sportsnet and TSN. Of course, you have to kind of deep dive to see if you can try and find these guys, or maybe go to Coca-Cola Coliseum and actually catch a game. But given the fact that like we have a Toronto team in the playoffs again, how are we feeling about this? And Troy, I'm going to start with you, if he can hear me. Okay, Avery, I'll start with you.
Yeah, it is dope to see the Marlies going deep once again in the Calder Cup playoffs. Corey's mentioned Phil's facing Wilkes-Barre. Winner plays Chicago or Colorado for the Calder Cup. And this is a team that won a Calder Cup back in 2018. And this is a team that the Toronto Marlies have found ways time and time again to get through what is easily the most chaotic postseason bracket in all of pro hockey. We've gone over before how the AHL playoffs are just Willy Wonka format in a league in which you've got teams going through a best of 3, a best of 5, another best of 5, and then best of 7 in the same postseason. Like, that's not easy for a team to go through that many changes. And Toronto's found a way to get it done before knocking off Rochester, knocking off Laval, knocking off Cleveland. That's a hungry team that
I'm very excited to see this, because it's like, you know what, could we see Dennis Hildeby actually, backstop Toronto to a Calder Cup for the first time in, say, essentially 8 years? Also Wilkes-Barre is no slouch either. Of course, considering that they ran over Springfield, and Springfield was a complete and utter upset. So, ideally speaking, like, I feel like Wilkes-Barre is like a very strong team, and ideally speaking, Toronto does have their work cut out for them. But if they can play very well and they can find ways to score and just be the team that they need to be, then I feel like Toronto may have the opportunity to actually get themselves back to the Calder Cup finals for the first time since 2018. So this is going to be huge. Troy, are you able to hear us real quick? All right, we'll have to get his thoughts a little bit later on in the show. Let's go to junior hockey. And of course, as I'm overtly excited for the Memorial Cup, considering I actually have a team to invest in, we didn't get a chance to actually go into that last week, but of course, right now at the time of this taping, Kitchener's up 2-1 as Vanahan from Everett has actually broken the shutout streak for Christian Kirsch of the Kitchener Rangers. They're currently the Rangers are still up 2-1 right now in the second period. I don't know if you've catched any of the games this past weekend, Avery, but I saw a massive statement win from the Rangers on Friday night, when you had Lightning prospect Sam O'Reilly score. You had former London Knight, now Kitchener Ranger Jared Woolley scoring as well, Jack Pridham as well, Brandon Pridham's son, Hayden Ellis and Dylan Edwards all scoring, and of course Christian Kirsch with the shutout. Colorado Avalanche goalie prospect. And then, of course, you had Everett, the WHL champion, just come out flying and hammering Chicoutimi left, right, and center, to the point where it was like they were being out-hit, they were being outplayed, they were being outgunned. I'm surprised Chicoutimi managed to score a few goals against a juggernaut like the Silvertips, who are literally in their first Memorial Cup tournament. And then, of course, back on Sunday, knocking out the Chicoutimi knocking out the hosts and essentially eliminating them from the tournament, from, say, any chance of actually winning the Memorial Cup on Sunday in a 3-2 overtime win. Avery, have you been keeping up with things?
Yeah, I did watch the Shikutami Kelowna game. So for Kelowna, to stay alive, they got to win. They got to find a way to force a tiebreaker game with Shikutami, which again, that's a tough road for it. That doesn't happen very often. So it's a tough road for Kelowna and Tej Ginla's group. As we saw Tej scored in that game. Tej is someone who again finding his game again after hip surgery in Kelowna.
Of course. Josh Bamini, of course, goaltender for the Kelowna Rockets. We didn't know he was a brother until we found out on the broadcast. And you know what? I'm openly happy for him. Of course, after his counterpart basically getting shell shocked for 5 goals on Friday night, giving him a chance to actually get there. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for Kelowna to actually get somewhere. Say if they do decide to pursue a goal of say going after the Ed Chenoweth Cup next year in the WHL. Um, Considering the amount of draft picks that like say Kelowna has right now, or sorry, the amount of draftees that Kelowna has right now, I feel like maybe the Rockets do need a little bit of time to regroup. And I always found this to be a weird thing where it's like the host has an actual chance of winning a national title over everybody else. Shawinigan's done it on a number of occasions. Saginaw did it a few years ago. And like if Kelowna can actually muster the strength to do the same thing, it'd be very interesting. But like I always found it weird that say like the random team out of nowhere just comes in and potentially just causes havoc by winning the whole tournament.
As we've had this debate before and showed many times, where we talk about the how to change the M Cup, what should be changed, and that's where I have said before more than once, if and, and talks have cooled right for now, but I've said before, if the talks heat up again with the USHL and the USHL and CHL merge, and the USHL champion enters the Memorial Cup, that would be a good way of how changing things if you have 4 champions as opposed to 3 champs in a host team.
No, I agree. But I feel like the USHL does need to expand a little bit more before I can even consider them, say, a worthy opponent of actually being a memorial, like, or challenging for the Memorial Cup at this point. Because it's like you have the Federal Prospects Hockey League. You also have you also have a couple semi-pro junior leagues, like say, just spidered out across the United States, and it's like there's no centralized hockey league for the United States. And then
Yeah.
what would you even call the league anyway? The NAJHL, the North American Junior Hockey League, or like just call it the NJHL, the National Junior Hockey League, or the
But
JHL, or like
you keep your names, but I think the bigger threat would be the NCAA. That to me is the bigger threat in terms of the CHL expanding further.
yeah,
Is again that's a big thing because again the amount of money that you can make, the amount of money timeline of playing is better in the NCAA. But again, we're gonna have to see how things shake up with this legislation, which could possibly force players into 5 years once you turn 18 years old, which again, hockey runs differently in the sense that with how guys are playing in the CHL and then jumping to the NCAA, that only means you're going to have about 2 or 3 years if your clock starts at, say, 18 to play in the NCAA. So we'll
yeah.
see if that goes forward. We'll see, because if that goes forward, that's going to impact a lot of guys who, say, play those first years in the CHL and then want to jump to NCAA hockey. So it impact them quite a bit.
Want to make a small correction here, folks. It's 2-1 in the first period, not 2-1 in the second period. So my mistake for that. Of course, the whole Pacific time zone has me a little messed up right now. So, folks, want to apologize. Kitchener's up 2-1 in the first period with about say less than 4 minutes left at the time of this taping. Um, who's your pick for this tournament right now? Even though you've seen a few games here.
Right now, it's hard to go against Kitchener. It really is hard to go against Kitchener right now in this tournament, Dave.
I can't say I disagree, even though like I'm a little biased, right? I haven't seen a team this strong since London, and I have hated London for a very long time. Although those jerseys are very clean, and I love I love those jerseys to death, especially the black one. Like it's been very hard to find that one for a very long time. And then, of course, like with the Kitchener Rangers coming out with Remembrance Day jerseys every year, and me obviously missing out on them because I'm an idiot. Like, it's nice to actually see a team respect not only the honor and sacrifice of the Canadian Armed Forces, but also just demonstrate that through, like, say, every Remembrance Day game every year. And of course, like I'm pretty sure you've seen a few of them, have you not?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, Dave.
And it's like, even though, like, say you might not have a team you're invested in out here, out in Alberta, like going into the CHL, who has the cleanest jerseys of all time? Like, and just be completely blunt here.
Of
Out of
all
all three
time?
leagues. Yeah.
Ooh, that's a great question. Of all time, like the CHL's produced some amazing, amazing jerseys, but one that doing my Googles, I would say, that's a great question. Kelowna, their 90s throwbacks are great. I thought those
Hmm.
were amazing. If you want to go real, real old school, I'm talking back 1980s. The Laval, Mario Lemieux, who played for the Laval Voisins, they had a great jersey. Look up Mario Lemieux's QMJHL team. Look up their team Laval. Look up their jerseys. It's probably the most peak 80s jersey you're ever going to see in your life, but it is such a cool look for a uniform in CHL.
What about right now? Like, who has, like, say, top three all time, or top three currently right now?
Top three currently. Oh, that's great. I will still a little bit biased and say the Edmonton Oil Kings are up there.
Hmm.
I'll probably say who else is up there in terms of jerseys? The Seattle Thunderbirds. They have a great look as well. The Seattle Thunderbirds have a
Yeah.
great look. And I'm gonna go to the Q. I'm gonna go the Newfoundland Regiment have a beautiful jersey.
You know what? I kind of agree with that. Although, again, I'm gonna throw an Ontario team in the mix here. I will say that, and forgive me for saying this if you're listening, Kitchener fans, but I do believe that the London Knights do have one of the cleanest jerseys in Ontario. Although, again, the Kitchener Rangers jersey, you can't beat a classic Rangers jersey like that. I'm sorry. Of course, as we have Troy finally back after, you say, a little bit of a small absence, um, I doubt you've watched any junior hockey games, including, like, say, any Ontario Hockey League games. But have you seen anything for the Memorial Cup within the last few days?
I have not, just because of my work schedule and just like you said, things just being available media wise to be able to watch it. Haven't been able to catch anything other than the the Rangers, the jersey that they're wearing,
Yeah,
the Memorial one.
yeah.
But other than that, I haven't got too much. Um, I will say though, for that, I've been I've been watching OHL kind of off and on
Hmm.
since I was 11.
Hmm.
Um, London, Kitchener, Barrie have always been the three powerhouse teams in the OHL. Um, so it's hard for me to go against Kitchener in a tournament like this, just because
Hmm.
like I out of all the OHL teams, like even though like I grew up in Brampton, Toronto and Brampton, like I'm more familiar with the Kitchener Rangers system than any of the other teams. Um,
I'm surprised to hear that. Actually, that's actually pretty cool.
I mean, it's because growing up, like one of my friends, like one of my good friends, like he would come down from Kitchener and I would go up there. And whenever I'd go up there, that's all we did was go to Kitchener Ranger games.
Oh, that's sick. That's
So
absolutely.
that's all we did. And then eventually, many moons later, Brampton got a team. So, I kind of drifted away from like London and Kitchener and just, trying to support the team for the city I lived in. But again,
Yeah.
the arena was in no man's land. So it made it harder to get to. So it's not like there wasn't support there, but
Yeah.
it's just the arena was too far.
No, I get it.
But yeah, circling back to the OHL, yeah, like my pick is Kitchener to take everything.
Well, you are in luck. I mean, if you are able to catch it, say, a little bit later, um, Kitchener and Everett are playing right now. They're just about to head into the second period. Um, but Kitchener is up 2-1 right now, folks. I know I'm pushing this, but, like, if you really want to see the next stars, then like take some time away from the NBA Eastern Conference Finals because we know Cleveland's about to be derailed at this point. And go watch some junior hockey. I promise you will not be disappointed. Of course, my obvious pick, and like I said, again, I'm being biased right now. I do want Kitchener to win the whole thing after steamrolling through the OHL playoffs. Of course, I am a little nervous about the Everett Silvertips, as Everett has been one of the most grittiest teams I've seen to date. Shakutami, obviously, through skill and finesse, is right there as well. But if they can manage to get themselves in a different situation, and get themselves into potentially a championship opportunity, then of course, anything can happen during this tournament. So, best of luck to all four teams. Kelowna, like I said, might be eliminated as early as, say, tonight, if not tomorrow, when Shakutami and the Rangers square off. Of course, tonight's game is, like, at the time of this recording, tonight's game is a battle between two heavyweights, of course, the WHL champion and the OHL champion squaring off. I do want to see Kitchener win the whole thing, like I said, and, obviously have bragging rights for the year as the team potentially goes into Guelph and basically rubs it in Guelph's face that they are going to be champs. We're going to switch over to the P-Dub for a minute here. Avry, if you're there, you can kind of just jump on for a sec and run through everything really quickly.
Yes, the Montreal Victoire have claimed their first Walter Cup. They're the first Canadian team to win a PWHL championship, taking down Ottawa. And that was a series in which Anrade Daviens was great in net for Montreal, battling through a very pesky Ottawa Charge team. And you know what? Montreal's a team in which I look at this Montreal squad. They might be here to stay for a while on top of that podium in the PWHL. A more wide open year with Minnesota losing in the postseason. So I want to see what Montreal's going to do next year, especially now. I do think they can keep some of their core pieces together with the four new teams coming in. But I do want to see what they're going to adjust now. The fact you've got four more teams to deal with the expansion for 26-27. But no, Montreal good. I know most of the chat doesn't want to hear it. I know Jason will be screaming boo. But it was fun watching Montreal get it done in the Walter Cup.
Oh, no doubt about it. I watched Game 4, and I was hoping that some chaos would happen and Ottawa would force a Game 5. Of course, my roommate was like, "Oh yeah, Montreal," and I'm like, you have no shame whatsoever. But in any way, shape, or form, congratulations to Montreal. Honestly, it was well deserved. Marie-Philippe Poulin, of course, being the Atlantic Cross playoff MVP, which kind of surprised nobody at this point. But, to have an all-Canadian final is just nothing short of beautiful. So, you know what? Hats off to Ottawa for actually making sure the cup came home. Honestly, Ottawa does have a great team. And, essentially, could they find themselves back in the Walter Cup final again? Who knows? Maybe is it a one-off? Could it be a one-off? You never know. But obviously, this was Montreal's year to shine, and now, of course, with 12 teams coming into the 4 new teams coming to the league, as you said, of course, Detroit, San Jose, Hamilton, and Las Vegas. Sky's the limit for Ottawa, or sky's the limit for the P-Dub right now. So, maybe one of those expansion teams may end up, say, getting their hands on a playoff spot next year. Hopefully, the Walter Cup playoffs expand to 12 teams as opposed to 8 teams, but we'll see how that goes.
12 teams. Yeah, it's
or sorry, not 12 teams, 6 teams.
Yeah, 16. There you go.
Sorry, my apologies, folks.
Yeah. But I do add one more thing too. There's gonna be the Victoire getting a parade in downtown Montreal on Saturday. So good for them getting a full-on parade in Montreal this weekend.
That's awesome. You know what? I'm all for it. All right, last but not least, we're going to take a look at the World Hockey Championships as Canada is looking to essentially try and get themselves back into the gold medal game. Of course, Canada not having such a great showing over the last couple of years. Of course, losing out to the Americans. The Americans, of course, winning last year and beating the Swiss for World Championship gold. Of course, we were thinking that the Americans would make it a double as they had won the gold medal game at the Olympics back in Milano Cortina back in February. But of course, the Americans did end up getting themselves eliminated from medal contention, or actually, yeah, from a medal contention, as they did not even get past the round robin this year. Um, I'm gonna be honest, Avery. How are we feeling about that?
Have you seen that roster, Dave? It is essentially anybody who was a star in large part said, "Nah, I'm good." That American roster was Matt Kachuk and the kids. Honestly, like that American roster was depleted. So I'm not shocked whatsoever the U.S. has struggled. I'm not shocked at all. But big episode of Ike Howard playing well for Team USA though. But yeah, but beyond Ike Howard, I'm not surprised Team USA struggled. Not at all.
What were some of the other surprises during this tournament for you as well? And Troy, I'm going to ask you this question also, because seeing British fans at the Worlds was just nothing short of amazing, and like just hearing their little pregame warm ups and everything. It's like, oh, let's get these, and let's make sure that like we freaking score on these guys, and seeing British football hooliganism in ice hockey rinks. Great Britain was just one of those fun teams that you wish had gotten a win and managed to stay in the top division. Unfortunately, they're being relegated as we speak. But how did we feel about that particular team going into, like, say, this year's tournament?
It's hard to say. I mean, like, because with so much other things happening right now in the world of sports, like it's hard to keep a tournament like this in the forefront.
Yeah.
Because you got NBA playoffs, you got NHL playoffs, you're approaching the midseason classic in Major League Baseball. CFL has kicked off. Training camps in NFL have opened. The F1, the Montreal Grand Prix, like that's coming up. Like it first, it's almost like the Spengler Cup, really, where just like it's such a I don't want to say nothing tournament because like obviously for the guys that go, it means something to them, right? But I mean,
Yeah.
like, I guess the better term, for lack of a better one, is it's an afterthought. Like, I think it's cool that like some of these NHL players like they still want to go, they want to represent their country, even after playing, you know, 80 like let's ballpark it. We'll say like 70 plus games because it's hardly ever you're seeing a guy play 82 like the full regular season. So you ballpark it around 70 games or so, and then to fly overseas, different time zone, and play more hockey. You must have the most amazing training regimen. You must be paying out your nose for your trainer. Um, and you must have like one super nice massage therapist because that's a lot of hockey to be playing. Especially for a guy like Sidney Crosby, who I think he was close to the 82 game mark this year, give or take. 'Cause I know he was out for a little bit, but like a guy like him who got eliminated early in the playoffs, and then I don't know, maybe took like a week or so, a week and a half for him to be like, yeah, I'll go join the team. You know, um,
Almost steal
yeah,
the captaincy from celebrating.
yeah, and good on him for saying no, let him keep it, kind of deal. Because it's like he's been there forever. Why take it from him? Like, don't pull a Gretzky where it's like, well, I'm here, give me this, I need this, I deserve this because I'm him. Nah, that doesn't seem to fly with Sid. We're just like, no, you got things already in place here. Just let me know what's going on. Let me know where I can fit in, and I'll be happy to do what I need to do. And that's one of the most redeeming qualities about Sid is that like he's a player's player, and it's easy to see why guys around the league like look up to him, they admire him, they think he's top notch, A plus kind of guy, on the rink, on the ice, and outside of it too. But in terms of, like I said, circling back to this world tournament, um, yeah, I I can imagine how many phone calls these teams had to make to try to convince guys to come play.
Mhm.
Avery was saying that the American roster is looking kind of slim. Um, I think because for like if you're an American,
Mhm.
your Olympic gold medal is already enough because we know how them stay already. They're not thinking about a tournament like this because it's like I got my gold last year. Like if they're not currently competing for because like in terms of like an international tournament, I guess because again this is such a lackluster like end of the season kind of tournament. Um, yeah, they're just like because it's international play, I guess they're just like whatever. This means nothing. So like even if they were to win, it, you can't even really hold it over bragging rights for anybody because they're just like unless you're over there or you're up at like 4 in the morning watching it on TSN, nobody's paying attention to this.
Fair enough.
Yeah, the worlds carry much more cachet overseas. They in nations like Norway, Latvia. By the way, Norway is second in the Group B, which is wow. Norway has actually impressed me a lot in this tournament. But yeah, in nations like Latvia, Switzerland, they care about the worlds far, far, far more than we do in this part of the world. Like when Latvia and Switzerland have gone their runs in the World Championships, they've had days of celebration in those countries for those teams doing well in the World Championships.
Mm.
Yeah,
I
because I mean, like for teams in that are more closer to this side of the world, like because I guess because we have such stronger hockey programs, so to speak.
mhm.
And I use the term strongly, very loosely because we don't see how Team Canada is played out when it comes to roster picking.
Yeah.
But I guess for these other teams, like Avery said, like the Latvias and these other smaller countries, this is a stepping stone for them. Like I can imagine that the teams like this, they're using these tournaments to better themselves, to gel more, and to see if they can actually be competitive when Olympics roll around again, or in the World Juniors, because the World Juniors is more frequent than the Olympics, right? So like this is opportunity for all these other smaller non-powerhouse hockey teams to kind of leave their mark and see where they're at and where they can see where they need to go forward and how they can improve their rosters. Whereas, in North America, like there's an embarrassment of riches when it comes to talent to pick from. So Canada and the US, we're never really worried about um trying to set the standard more or less, or just trying to see where we're at because Canada and the US could realistically, they could send four different teams. Whereas some of these other countries, they struggle to put just to fill out the roster. Where
Mhm.
you got to start looking into players who have dual citizenship and basically running 23andMe tests to see if you can if you can play for their country. Because like you over the years, like I've seen people that you didn't know were Italian playing for Italy. You've seen people that you didn't know had any like the slightest lick of Asian in them. They're playing for like China, and it's amazing how far some teams have to go because they feel like the talents and the competition level just isn't there.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think for the smaller countries, this tournament works. For the bigger countries, they're just there to fill out spots so that way these other teams have somebody to play against.
I get that. You know, sometimes it is what it is. I will say this though. I mean, for the defending champ to obviously not field a team that's strong enough to actually take out, or sorry, defend their gold medal from last year, it kind of seems like a little bit of a slap in the face, but you know what? Again, when you've reached the pinnacle of I guess men's ice hockey and women's ice hockey, you kind of just want to sit there and say, you know what, here, let the other teams apparently have their cake and eat it in this situation. So, of course, seeing Denmark reach the top flight and actually not get eliminated from, say, eliminated from the top division is kind of cool. Although I do miss having Russia and Belarus, but of course they know what they did, so like they're essentially staying out of each program until they can get themselves together and say, hey, let me not invade Ukraine. Which, oh, by the way, surprisingly enough, Ukraine will actually be in the tournament next year after winning their division and finally getting promoted to, like, say, the top division, which is kind of cool. Them and France are actually going, and Great Britain and Italy will be relegated to Division One for next year. It's really cool to see, because it's like, you start doing a deep dive on all these world championship teams, and it's like you see that Japan has one, and they're in Division One as well. You see South Korea has a team, you see Israel has a team, and yet still Israel stays in Division Three and still gets their ass kicked every year, every time they try to get promoted, which is just, fun for everybody. But you also see South Africa has a team, Mexico has a team, the Dutch have a team, and it's just like, eventually, we have been trying to throw this idea out left, right, and center. And Avry, I know you've been doing this from time, but we need to have a West Indies team at the World Championships. I'm not joking. Like, yo.
No, I know. We are neither. I think I said World Cup of Hockey. Because World Cup of Hockey is not a sanctioned tournament with double IHF. You could do it there. I've asked guys in the league, would you play for them? And some guys have kind of sort of said maybe. I know I straight up asked Darnell Nurse, would you play for Team West Indies? Mm-hmm. And Darnell chuckled and said, possibly, if he was asked for World Cup of Hockey. So
yeah,
I got one guy who actually would think about that and being Darnell Nurse. So.
So, folks, of course, a lot of great hockey for y'all. Of course, if, say, by the time we record on Sunday and there's a Game 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals, we'll be there. If, say, Toronto ends up going to the Calder Cup Finals, we're going to try and force our way to be there. If any of the Marlies are listening right now, get us to the Calder Cup Finals. We would love to come interview y'all, chop it up with y'all, and come cheer with y'all as y'all try to win your second Calder Cup in franchise history. And, of course, we're going to keep our eye on the Memorial Cup as well. You'll be seeing more video updates from myself, as well as potentially Avry and Troy throughout the course of the week and throughout the rest of the hockey season. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you are following us on the socials at Toronto Third, both on Twitter and on Instagram. Folks, as always, thank you for letting us grace the space in between your head top. Avry, Troy, thank you very much for coming through. We're sad to see that Jason could only come through for like 5 minutes and then leave. But, obviously we love having him here. Folks, we will be back with another episode next week. So until then, drink your water, mind your business, and deuces. Let's go Rangers.